episode that, as you can see here, this episode is about garlic, growing garlic, its Scorpio associations, and some more predictions. So, garlic. And I just put it in some water to grow roots. So basically, you can just buy garlic and do that. After a while, it begins to sprout. And this is a garlic already growing in its leaves. So this one is already planted. I think this one, it takes 9 months to grow. It can grow in 5 months. In 5 months, it develops full enjoy the harvest. So, garlic is actually very easy to grow. It is quite resilient. It grows pretty quickly. And it's very good both for consumption, and there are two ways you can consume garlic for the vitamins. One is you take a clove of garlic that is the size that you can swallow, like a pill, and you just take off you peel it off, and then you just take it like a peel with water. That is good for and then you basically either chew on it, like chewing on a clove with all that entails, or you can just, cut it, or use a garlic mashing tool, and you can add it to your sauce uncooked. Okay, uncooked is a big deal. Although garlic is very tasty cooked, you get the most from the fresh garlic. You can ferment it. There are various ways to ferment it. One is to simply put the cloves, mash them a little, put them in honey, and put that honey in the fridge. This is the method I learned from OG, rest in peace. So it's so simple. Okay, you take as much garlic as you want. You just need to make sure that the honey covers the cloves of garlic. You put it in the fridge, and you take a spoonful of that. It takes a while to ferment, and then you take a spoonful of that, like whenever you feel like it. Okay. Another way is with apple cider vinegar, and then you can rest it for as long as you desire, and you can clean it off. And if you keep it for at least 1 year, you will get the black garlic. And that version of garlic is also full of antioxidants. So it's not going to be for the, for the special garlic, rawness that kills bacteria. In that way, it's just going to be for the antioxidant quality. Or you can use it in thieves oil, which is basically apple cider vinegar with fun herbs, and you can add garlic cloves in. That's for the physical uses. Of course, you can make garlic pasta, garlic this, garlic that. That's all great and lovely, and you should do it. I was just mentioning kind of how would you use it for your health. And the other way you can use garlic, and all of the garlic is used, is spiritually. Now we are in a decreasing moon. The moon is in Pisces, but it's going to enter Aries soon, which is Mars ruled. And with a decreasing moon, it's good to amp up our detoxification, protection, smudging, anything you do to basically take an unnecessary energy out. So think about your salt baths, think about saging, cleaning up the house, throwing things you no longer need. Those things are the things you would do at this phase of the moon. So before I get to the spiritual, on the growing and planting. So this one is a bit out of order in terms of the times, because I just felt like I really need to grow more garlic. I feel it, and I'm going to talk about it later on why do I feel it, and how can I think it might work for you, or at least for some of you. Particularly if Mars is prominent for you, because this is very Marsy. Okay, it's very poignant, it's very Marsy. And I also make some predictions about Saturn and the herb that should grow. So for this, some people just take off the garlic, they take it apart into the cloves of the garlic, and they plant it in the soil. It's kind of like a finger dip. You plant it into the soil. You want to have at least like, an arm length of soil if you can, if not like at least half of it, so that it will have room for its roots. Its roots are very strong, and they're, they go deep. So you want to have enough room for the roots. Soil, the usual soil you use for veggies and stuff that you grow for actual consumption. Again, it's a very resilient one. Okay, I'm growing it in a desert. So you start with, if you want to plant the cloves or germinate the cloves, as I'm doing right now, you start with the first crescent moon. So let's say the new moon in Leo is on the 16th. The moon in Virgo, okay, towards the middle end phase of Virgo, you might want to do that. So you just wait until you see the moon. You can wait at night, okay? You see the moon at night, take your cloves, take something that is like a glass, and put it in the water so it can grow. I like to grow the leaves first. I found, especially for me, when I'm growing in the desert and the climate is very harsh, I like them to germinate, and it does assist later when you actually grow the garlic. So you put it in the water to germinate, to grow roots, and then you have the sprouts. So when you have the sprouts, you're going to feel that the garlic cloves are kind of falling apart, like they're beginning to fall apart, and they kind of reminded you, hoo, it's time to plant me. The way I go about it, that I find the most successful. And this you can do both if you have a yard or if you're growing at home. Let's say you have one room. What I can suggest you to do, first of all, you can harvest some of the leaves. Okay, they taste like garlic. You can just chew on them. You can add them to salads, and it's really a whole lot of joy. And another thing is, let's say you live in a one-room apartment. You can't grow the entire cloves. Okay, take at least 2 or 3. You've seen the plant that I show you with the leaves, right? You can go back to watch from the beginning of the video if you haven't. Take 2 or 3 of those, and sometimes you don't even have to purchase. Okay, you can go around the block, and when people throw out stuff, it's actually even preferred if you can use something that people threw. So about this glass, I found it. Okay, I'm not an alcohol drinker, so this is what this shot glass is using for me. And you can just, use them, or you can make a purchase. As for soil, then the usual soil for plants, you just invest at least in 2 or 3 of those. Even if it's crowded in the room, it's such good benefit, because it's going to help you to grow, especially if you're trying to move to a bigger apartment, or trying to grow in your life, if you feel stagnant, you feel like you want to grow something, you really want to grow something, you need to grow in your life, okay? And you need something to grow easily, smoothly, to banish all obstacles. It's a great banishing herb. To banish all obstacles, it's just to grow the garlic itself. And of course, you can harvest it and you can use it in all these various ways. So as it grows the leaves, the best time to transplant it to an actual plant with soil. And again, you just dig in, making sure that there is place for the roots. And you water it depending on where you live. Garlic is quite resilient, but you do want to make sure you're watering it. I water it almost every day here in the desert. But for you, maybe it's once in 3 days, once in 4 days. And you can mulch it if you're growing outside. If it's just like inside your house and you don't have any place, it will grow. Like put a lamp on, it will grow, okay? And you can ask something from the garlic. You can say, I want a bigger apartment, or I want to be wealthy, or I want to remove the obstacles from growth that are even self-induced. Okay, you listen, everything I said now, I want. So the thing is, you just like from that point, when do you transplant? This is, I only do truth in aspect astrology. And the best time to transplant is when the moon squares the sun. Okay, so moon squaring the sun is basically about 7 days, okay, after you plant it. It's quite quickly. So at about a week or 8 days after you plant it, you're going to transplant into the bigger plant. And then you let it grow there, you water it, you can ask for things, and pay attention. You can even run a diary. You can pay attention to what is happening in your life with this garlic. You're gonna breach the soil as it grows the roots, as it grows the leaves, as it bulges, literally, which is actually considered a herb that is good for, also for bulges, like for erection, for sexual energy. Okay, so you're going to break through. There are going to be some breakthroughs in your life as you grow garlic. Okay, if you do it intentionally and you pay attention, you're going to feel things vanish. Okay, some certain patterns are going to vanish from your life, and some of them for good. So times you've been stuck, maybe you're trying to grow something and you're banishing fears, you're banishing drama from your life, you're banishing whatnot. So right now the moon is decreasing. It's very good to do so. And it takes 9 months. What else takes 9 months? Bring in a human baby. Okay, so this is birthing, and this is how this plant is associated with the cycle of life, and that in this way, very potent, okay, very potent growth. If nothing grows for you, try to grow garlic, okay? You make sure that the garlic is fresh when you buy it. Now, let's say you grow this at home, you can't plant all the cloves, no problem. What you can plant, you plant. At least 2 or 3, okay? If you only have 1, okay, but my suggestion at least 2 or 3, because if this one will die on you, then you say, surely it didn't grow, it didn't this, and didn't that. Like, no. Do it with the moon, set the intention. You're gonna notice maybe 1 or 2 won't grow, okay? But there will be those significant ones that will grow. And I want you to get to the growth. So at least 2 or 3. At least 2 or 3. If you can plant all the 8, wonderful. You can plant them in different places in your house. It brings rejuvenation to where you go. If you have a yard, then you can have fun with it. I noticed that they do like some shade if you're in like a fully, say if you're like in Phoenix or something, they're gonna need some shade. But other than that, they're good with the sun. You can mulch them a bit so they have the soil is protected. Um, and pay attention as you grow this garlic. It's going to take 9 months. You are birthing something in this 9 months. Very good to grow garlic. So it is also connected because of this 9-month thingy. So it's very much, it's related to Mars that I said, it's related to Scorpio, and therefore also to Pluto. This is why I said if you can find, let's say, recycled materia, okay, whether it's the plant, the plant that you grow it in, or taking soil ethically from a certain place and transfer it, or somebody threw out some glasses and you see it next to the garbage can, bring them, sanitize them, this one, okay? So recycling is very good. If you are going on a walk, so finding trash and picking up the trash and put it in a trash can, those kind of activities are very pro-Plutonian, environmental. They're gonna take you to work with the energy of Pluto, the great transformer of birthing something, rejuvenation, death and decay, composting, in a way that is very accessible, okay? Picking up the trash from the street, going back to doing that, is actually a pro-Plutonian activity. Taking something that somebody threw and giving it new life or growing life in it, ooh, Pluto stuff. This is Pluto stuff. So the wisdom that garlic gives you within this context is utilizing things for growth, alchemizing things, banishing obstacles to growth, as well as the ability to take what is being thrown at you or thrown out and make life out of it. Those are all Martian abilities. Those are Plutonian abilities. If you're going through a Pluto transit, that can be part of the things that assist you. If you are going through a Mars transit, so the relation to Mars is pretty obvious. It's not invasive like rosemary, but it is invasive in the sense that this is a plant that grows. Okay, I'm speaking as a person who didn't manage to grow sweet potatoes. I need to have one more shot with soil, but without soil in water, I didn't manage to grow sweet potatoes. And boy, have I tried. This garlic grew. Okay, so how to use it spiritually? Many ways. One of these ways I owe to an African woman, Christian African, and she teaches, I don't remember the name of her channel, but if you look upon clove, you will find it, because she teaches you all kinds of tricks with all kinds of herbs. Some of them I don't know, but some of them are familiar. And one of the ways that she taught to use clove, you can use it in bath. So you can basically put clove, mash it and put it in your bath water, or put it in water and then you put the water on you. It stinks. And you chew on garlic, you bring your faith in. So she is Christian, but whatever God you believe in, or whatever faith you believe in, or your ancestors, or your subconscious, okay, if you're atheist, then you can bring in intention into it, or the connection to nature, okay? So you chew on it and then you put one clove under your pillow. So you shower, you bathe in it, you chew on it, you put it in the water where you wash your floors. And this is how you cleanse. And this is good against enemies, spiritual attacks, what we call a spiritual rape. Basically, when people, it can be, the experiences of rape, but it can be that somebody, many people try to practice energy sex or astral projection and so on, and sometimes they don't even know the rules, okay? They don't even know how this world goes, so they just try new things, and they think, oh, I can have sex with my favorite star, or with this, oh, I like this person, I will astral project, and the other person feels that, okay? If you know, you still need willing consent. Energy sex is great, it's wonderful. When it's practiced between two people that are consenting to do this, huh? 1 in a million you will get a chance that you did that and it actually worked, but it doesn't work that so many people feel raped by this. It's a very big problem. So garlic is very good for that. If somebody tries to project or in energy, to set the energy boundaries, okay, to banish, and you ask the ancestors, you ask the God, you say, banish, I don't allow anybody to come, or you speak directly to the being that is breaking your boundaries, say, I don't want you to do it, and set a very firm boundary. And this is great for this. So you can understand anything psychic attack, anything thrown at you, anything to try to breach your boundaries. You set very firm boundaries. On a spiritual level, garlic, very helpful. And those are all the ways you can do it. And this is something that I learned from a man who was, I think he was, I don't know if he was Spanish or if he was Mexican. And he was using Psalm. I don't remember the verses, but he said about these peels. You pick the peels up and you mash them. You can turn them to incense or you can burn them. Okay, and again, with fire, you need to be cautious because this thing flies in the wind very easily. So you want to do it safely. And you burn this and you go just like sage, okay? You go with the tool, you burn this clove and you go it around the house and you pray or you sing or you read the verses of Psalm that are relevant to what you want to achieve and you banish negative energy. It smells. Later you can, I don't know, light sweetgrass or put essential oils, but this is a very good cleanser for when you want to detox the home, okay? Another thing, garlic is good for. So there are banishing rituals, okay, that we already said partially, but you can do banishing rituals with the garlic. It's very good. You can put your feet in water and garlic, also great, obviously, if you have athlete's foot or whatnot, or you want to cleanse and detox spiritually. Another thing it is good for is protection that we said, but also bringing wealth. And bringing wealth, you want to use usually on a growing moon, and you can put a clove in your pocket, you can put a clove in your wallet, you can put it integrate it with your altar. You can, with the decreasing moon, burn all the obstacles in my faith, in my ways to wealth and well-being. Okay, that's a good thing. You heard it. That's a good thing. You can do with this, okay? Because the decreasing moon we manifest by decreasing, by banishing, by burning off. What's no longer burns the past, and now because it's with Mars. Now we are with this Venus retrograde talking about burning the desire that is not desired, that's not actually nourishing. Burn the pathos of desires, of sexuality, of drive, of sexual drive, of goals that are no longer serving for me. Burn them and bring to me the patterns and the abundance that is actually, and the goals that actually serve my way, and whatever obstacles I have on those goals, burn these obstacles. Okay, that is another thing you can do with clove. And from those spiritual uses, you already understand how, on a more holistic level, when something's stagnant in your life, grow plants in general, but grow garlic. Okay, when there's some transformation that needs to happen, or something very beautiful you want to bring in, grow garlic. Okay? You want to always be growing garlic when you want your mind sharp, because what is Mars ruling? It rules the head. You want your thinking sharp. Grow garlic. Okay? And holistically, okay, you plant, you ask, you set intention, you observe what is happening in my life since I have been growing this garlic. And then you make a description. You make something with this. Okay? For example, since I planted my first garlic, things that happened in my life. First of all, I learned about all the many uses of garlic, right? I learned about protecting from spiritual rape. I learned about protecting the heart. I learned about fermented garlic. Now, I learned this from OG about fermented garlic. OG died because he had a heart attack and then he got pills. If I'm not mistaken, those were beta blockers. So I learned about beta blockers that they are given not only to people with who went through a crisis mentally and have non-volitional, non-dual experiences. Okay, then also to cancer patients that I learned in another way when I wanted to volunteer for hospital as a holistic health practitioner. So I wanted to volunteer in all kinds of departments, and then I went to the oncology department, and I saw a prospect there. The people were very, very kind to me. All the people, all the staff, the crews, they were very kind. They were very helpful. But I saw this prospect, and I saw this beta blockers, olanzapine, is also being given to people who had chemotherapy against nausea. And those things, the beta blockers, they basically cause the muscles, the non-volitional muscles, to not contract. One non-volitional muscle we have in our body is our heart. Okay, this is also why they cause constipation, because you need contraction to get your poop out. Okay, this is one of the side effects is constipation. And then if something like this happens to you, then the bigger problem is that they say to you, it's not from the pill. And that as a result, they don't give you the medical treatment, and so people die. So that means if you had, let's say, heart attack, they give it so that your heart won't contract, let's say out of an anxiety or something. But if it doesn't contract, it dies. Okay, so people die in tremendous rates, and it's still being given, it's still being used, people uninformed. And then when they come up with side effects, instead of immediately taking them off the pill, sometimes you need to do it in a certain way because it is a problem with these beta blockers, but immediately tending to it, they say, no, it cannot be from the pill. And as a result, the person's situation gets worse and many people die. Or the person tried to quit it themselves. Okay, so I learned this by garlic. I was watching this fermented garlic by OG, and then I watched more videos by OG, and then I see OG died. Why did OG die? He had a heart attack. He got pills. And the family said they spread awareness to that some pills can kill. And I later find out that those were beta, the pills that they give to heart patients are also these beta blockers. So this is also something that has happened to me. Another thing that happened since I grew them garlics, I planted more. I planted geranium, I planted rosemary. There were stuff I tried like lavender, and they died on me, even though they're very resilient. I began to plant also. My neighbor allowed me to use the place that she doesn't use because like she got pregnant and she couldn't tend to her plants. So I said, okay, I'm going to plant something here because things die, and I took care of it. So now even the plants that survived from her time are regrowing. Grew lettuce, and so the particular like garlic things. Oh, and then of course I experimented with thieves. I experimented with fermented garlic. I got my mother to eat garlic and honey at a certain point that I need to get her to do that again. I used it to banish things. I used it for banishing. I reconnected with my grandfather who grew vegetables and kind of thought about his story. I was actually thinking about him today and how food and the bringing and growing of food or producing or selling food kind of played in my known family history from my grandfather, who basically owned a vegetables shop. Again, he had a vegetable store. And in the Holocaust, basically, because he looked Irish, then he would get out of the camp and then he would bring food into the camp. So you go in and out and in and out. Then he escaped through the woods, and then Israel had this, she sold basically veggies, and as he tended to his health, it was like an extreme way. He was eating like one half a cabbage in boiled waters and some, yogurt, and that's it. Like he would eat that in a day when he took care. It's like kind of extreme, and I can see how that played out in both in me and my mother. So there's ancestral connection and all those things within those 9 months that I was growing garlic. And the way that I found it, the way that I harvested it was, I thought that it died. Okay, and I was sad. I thought that, oh, another plant died on me, and I was sad. And I discovered that it grew a whole garlic bulb. And I'm like, oh my God, it hadn't died. It's just finalized its course. It's like, it's not that. It's actually this new baby. It didn't die on me. It's a new baby. It was born. It hadn't died. It was actually born. And when you think about this death and birth and the 9 months and all that, it's kind of like, this is very, very close to humanity. It's very, it's very close to cycles of human beings. And so it's very healthy for human beings. I also discovered garlic is good for our teeth, which, and hair, which was, if your gut health is good, then of course your teeth are good. And if it's antifungal, then of course it's good for your teeth and your nails, which is Saturn stuff. Now, apparently I have both Mars and Saturn in Scorpio and Pluto in Scorpio. So of course I'm going to be one of the people that really feel garlic and bring it. I remember this plant even came back to me because my mother used to eat garlic, and even though she ate it with parsley and stuff, I was like, oh, Mama, I cannot take this smell. I cannot take this smell. And she stopped eating it. And that was no good. And then I had a roommate that had worms in her stomach, so she was eating garlic. It was like the smell of garlic that I couldn't stand, it wouldn't go away from me, okay? And there was something that I was doing concerning labor and like work that had to do with like learning from Italy and the Italian lifestyle. Of course, I eat a lot of garlic. And I had a neighbor that was Italian. So the garlic wouldn't go away, okay, until I started growing it myself. And as I pay attention, I just put it as one of the vegetables that I put in water. I was trying to grow things in water, and then it took a while, and so it growing these leaves, and I harvested some of the leaves, and it grew really wide until it was like falling apart. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to plant it. And that's how I planted it, because I nearly forgot. And there were 2 bulbs that I planted. Now I'm growing 3 bulbs. Then I planted 1 bulb. I tried to grow another, but the garlic wasn't fresh, so it didn't grow. And now I bought fairly fresh garlic, so I'm expecting yield. Felt like, oh my gosh, I need to grow more garlic. So it's kind of like that plant wouldn't go away. And if I think about me and my mother, it was basically calling us to take space. Okay, it was calling for space, but also calling to you. Eventually, I would use that garlic spirituals. Like eventually, I needed to consume it, and it would come to me in all kinds of variations. And it's actually through the, I don't even remember like how or what made me finally do it, but it was like, I don't care if I stink, I want to be healthy. and garlic is very much about taking that space, okay, and severing ties with the unjust Mars. Now, I also have so I have Mars in Scorpio, and that means that blood circulation is something that needs to be tended to. I have, and it rules my Mercury. So clear mind, and Mercury rules my 4th and 7th And eventually, when I found, after being in between homes for 6 months, I found this particular home, and that's where I started growing garlic. Like here, I started growing things like for real, for real. Um, so yeah, and what else about it? Oh, I said I'm the Pluto Scorpio's generation. So absolutely, and I'm going through my Pluto square. So the rejuvenation also on how I see Pluto, being called to work with Pluto, and listening to that call, learning about like composting things, recycling things, making sure that as much as of my trash, so to speak, quote unquote, composts, and finding things in the trash, because you move out, you need to find things, so you find things in the trash and they're golden. So that's, and my Saturn is in Scorpio. Now Saturn rules agriculture. Okay, Saturn rules agriculture. I have a night chart. That means Saturn is the most problematic part. And indeed, anything to do with commitment, diligence, it's not that I don't have it, it's just that it comes in certain episodes that are very weird and not so much in my control. And like I would commit to something like this astrology or those videos, kind of like I commit to it, I committed it my way. Routine is something very chaotic for me. So that type of dedication, commitment, knowing when to stop and knowing when to grind a little bit more, even if you're tired, those things are things I'm really like coping with. I'm really having to resolve in my life. And also any kind of authority, bureaucracy, something very difficult for me. So yeah. And this is in my ninth house, and my travels have been like pilgrimages, and my higher studies have been only like I've only finalized a lot of them during the Saturn return. So yeah, Saturn literally rules agriculture, and so for Saturn, let's say Saturn in Scorpio, anything Scorpio would grow more easily. If I think about plants that didn't grow easily for me, was sweet potato. Even potatoes, okay, the leaves grew easily, but I have yet yielded edible potatoes, which is the most easy thing to grow. And some of it is like stuff I need to do. It's like I didn't have the money to grow it in as much soil as I would like to. So of course, it didn't have the ability to spread evenly. Or sweet potato, which is totally, it's sweet. But there were problems. Even I grew sweet peppers. They grew, tomatoes. I thought one of my tomatoes was a weed, and then it's the saddest picture in the world. Basically, it started growing a tomato when it didn't have water. And it's just, even now, it's like standing there. And this was one of my totally mental breakdown crisis moments. Like, what have I done? Kind of like someone grows fruits and kind of try to grow fruits, kind of like, I'm a tomato, look at me, I'm a tomato, I'm not a weed. And then I tried to rewater it and it was already dead. It was really like dead, painful, whatnot. And I grew, like, the other tomatoes survived, and now kind of watering it. And actually half of the plant is kind of like dead and the other one is alive, which is really weird. Something weird going on with tomatoes that I need to tend to. And my sweet peppers got sunburn, so I brought them inside. But the things that grew most vehemently was geranium, that I found out is actually a Scorpio plant, a Scorpio flower. And I was like, I had no idea. And geranium is pretty resilient. Geranium is like wherever you put it, like it grows in the freaking desert. Both the medical and not the medical. I don't have the medical. But yeah. And geranium is also a plant that I had in my teens. I was tending to it. I didn't even know like what it was, but I was tending to it. We had a huge bush of geranium. Rosemary. Rosemary has accompanied me when I was in between two homes. I saw it in the market in Netherlands, in the pipe. Um, the rosemary just scattered on the floor, and I nearly cried. You can imagine what it's been in between houses, including nights without shelter. And I did not have a car, so I was just sleeping in some bathroom or something. And then finding this herb. So that is another. It's both a lavender and both lavender, Mercury. It's a Mars herb because of the needles. Um, Another thing plant I'm working with is pine that grows. There are a couple of pine trees right next to our neighborhood. So I started making tea with it. I want to make a salve or tincture. I already began to make my first rosemary tincture, very first harvested by my own crop. So I grew rosemary. She was the only one who survived from the herbs I brought to the apartment. All of the rest of them died. And I didn't know they need to be transplanted to a bigger plant. And with geranium, I did it right. With geranium, I already transplanted to a bigger plant. It's like she told me, I need a bigger plant. And then she was the first flower I grew outside. Okay. And rosemary also grew outside. So they're very resilient. They're very good friends because they are very patient. They're very resilient. They can go through stuff and still grow. And so then was garlic. By the way, lettuce grew pretty nicely as well. So you can see how those marsy things grow. Okay, they grow rather easily. And another very exciting story I had was with hibiscus, and it was actually a purple hibiscus, and two of its flowers died, and I thought the plant is dead. Then I was with my parents, and I came back and I saw the like sprouts of the flowers, like the small flower, the bulbs of the flowers, and they were growing two new flowers that eventually bloomed. And then my cat dropped them, and I started growing a cat. But that was a more Gemini, and I think it was, I don't know if it was with Mars in Gemini, but that was a more Gemini thingy, the purple and so on, and the two thingy. So I'm like, oh, something does grow with me. Something does grow with me. Because I've lost so much growth. I've lost so much and grieved on so many plants. So after I learned and managed to change my habits of growing plants, then I became more certain, more sure that I can grow certain things. So Marsy things are very good for me to grow. And where is my Saturn? It's in Scorpio. Okay. And Saturn does rule agriculture. So what I would check for your chart, and this is prediction because I haven't tried this before. I would check where is Saturn. Try to look up plants that are of the sign where Saturn is and grow them. Okay? And this is both remedy for the sign. The planet is ruled by the sign, so for me, Mars or Pluto, and Saturn itself. Because Saturn is agriculture. If you grow plants and you honor Saturn, then you're tending to Saturn. You're remedying Saturn. Okay? And this is one way that you can tend to Saturn, okay, to grow something. And you need to look what is in Capricorn. For me, I have Jupiter in Capricorn. I don't think I'm growing any Jupiter related stuff. I'm growing more Mars stuff. I haven't tried like cloves. I wanted to grow, it's a very Jupiter herb, Jupiter Mars, saffron, but I don't know, I didn't get a hold of the seeds. So yeah, so I still need to look up Jupiter stuff and see what is more Jupiterian as herbs. I need to learn it myself, you know, and see if that grows. But this also means that when I tend to my Saturn, it also goes to remedy my Jupiter, what's in my Saturn signs. Okay? I also am thinking about growing mushrooms because Pluto is related to mushrooms and Pluto is in Saturn's sign. And also mushrooms, some of them are good for the nervous system. So I might honor Pluto in Aquarius as well with growing mushrooms. And they're also growing dark spaces. So if you want to put growth to a place where you don't have so much light, maybe you can grow mushrooms. So this is something that is only a prediction, but if you want to be more successful with growing plants, growing things, in a way, for some of you, it's going to be to befriend grief, because there is life there and sometimes there is death, even if it's just shedding leaves or the flower dies before it emits fruit, before it grows fruit. By the way, I have passion fruit growing in the yard and citrus fruit. So those are both solar. Passion fruit, I don't know. Because passion fruit is not Jupiterian per se. I think it's more solar. But it is, yeah. It's kind of like soury sweet. And they have 3 types of citrus fruits. So, but the passion fruit was growing very well because I diluted the flowers and I made a tincture as well with the flowers and some tea. And now there was very good yield, very, very good yield. I made some popsicles from it. It's just frozen, okay? You just clean it into frozen and you put the stick in and then you just put it in the freezer and then you have a popsicle. This 100% fruit and it's very tasty. So it's a healthy snack. And it's also good for your vitamin C because it's packed with vitamin C. Yeah. So when you grow the fruit, when you grow the herbs of where your Saturn is, then this is probably it's a slow process. You need to befriend grief. And there was a lot of grief, okay? A lot of grief for me. A lot of grief. But it is also you're growing with your plants. And so it is incredibly healing, although it pertains grieving. And it's just a life force. You kind of feel life. There's life, you're growing life, okay? That's my experience with Saturn being retrograde in Scorpio. Growing life. Things you need to think about, okay? Rosemary, for example, or even grows like rosemary and geranium,
They are survivors. They are shiny no matter what. Okay? They are survivors. They are your friend. If you've had a trauma where a plant died on you, where this, when that, it's not that, like, try garlic, try rosemary, try geranium. Okay, and you can geranium have so many colors, so you can basically grow various colors of geranium, and that's gonna fill you with life. They bloom so fast. They, even when they have these moments where like all the flowers go out, immediately they grow already other flowers. You won't have, I think, more than a week or 2 weeks before it grows again. It's so wonderful to watch those little bulbs go, and then the flowers. It's just so nourishing and so revitalizing. And you can listen to the plants or communicate with the plants if you like, if it works for you. Um, and I've learned that for people that went through like really harsh stuff, a lot of them, if they can't like grow an animal or fully take care, or walk the dog 3 times, there are plants that you can take care of, and it brings life to you. And this type of caring that nourishes you as well. For the first, before I even grew my own plants, like again, I was channeling and I was trying to water the plants, and then the plants said, no, 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 not yet. You water you first. Okay. It's kind of, and then kind of like if I put turmeric and pepper for my plants, then I drink turmeric and pepper tea. So kind of like I'm nourishing me first, and then I'm nourishing the plant. I drink my water. You cannot water the plants before you drink your water. So wake up in the morning, drink your water, hydrate, and then water your plants. Or if I think about something I want to do, maybe I'm very tired, very difficult for me to water my plants, then I pray that I will have energy to water myself and to water my plants. And then after a while, it happens. So it does work. If you grow like succulents, then you can leave them, I think, unattended for up to a week, depending on where you are living. So that is kind of very useful and very, very nourishing. Like when you want to grow out of trauma, then I highly recommend. And you want to be attentive to yourself, because yes, if a plant dies on you or something is incredible grief, I know like what happened to me with the tomato, which is like startling. And it's like these life lessons, it's kind of like you thought that was a weed, and then it grows a fruit to show you. It's like, I'm going to die, but at least you understand that I'm a tomato. And then for the other one that grows, kind of like half is alive and half is dead. It's like the weirdest thing ever. It's like dead alive. There's something about the wisdom of tomato that I really need to get. It's also considered a passion fruit. It's considered about lust. So something I need to learn more about and understand more about. Yeah. So I hope this one was useful, and you get, look at the fluffy. It has fluff on, and it flies. It flies. Isn't it hot? He hot. Yeah. Anyway, so that's if you want to feel like fresh blood in your veins, this guy here. It's very fluffy. So yeah, let me know if you grow, if this video made you grow something, if this video shocked you about what can happen if you grow stuff. What did you learn? So let me know in the comments below. Are you growing something? Do you want to share videos and pictures of your literal plant babies, then yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.